Hi, and welcome back to Rowing on the Square, the podcast. Today we're continuing our conversation with rowers on their way back from injury. And not just the physical side, but everything no one really prepares you for. The missed practices, the shift in your role, the question of how you come back the same, or even if you do. I'm joined today by Charlotte Berman, a sophomore at University of Rochester and a Haddonfield Crew Club alum, who's right in the middle of this process, working back from a knee injury. Charlotte offers a unique conversation from the collegiate rower's perspective. She touches on how to navigate coaches, professors, friends, classes, and everything in between as an injured athlete. She never gave up on finding the cause of her pain. She didn't discount her pain. She didn't blame herself, even when the MRI failed to provide answers. She went to many practitioners and advocated for the care that she needed. We can all learn from her story, especially on how to better support an athlete with an injury. Whether you're an athlete, a coach, a parent, or a medical provider, you can learn a lot from Charlotte. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Let's get into it. Yeah, thank you so much for chatting with me today. And I thought we'll start with just what's your rowing story? How did you get involved in rowing? We'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to meet with you. I think having a space to be able to share my story is really important because for a while I found it really hard to talk to people. But so my freshman year of high school, I started rowing. COVID started in my 8th grade year. So I decided to start rowing because I was a dancer for all my life. My parents didn't want me to be inside anymore. And I wanted to do a high school sport. So I joined the rowing team. We knew someone on the team at the time and was like, Charlotte, you should try this, whatever. So I went and I immediately fell in love with the sport. Sorry, I'm just turning all of my things on Do Not Disturb. Immediately fell in love with the sport. And it was such a weird season. We didn't have any races. We all had to wear masks. And I truly just loved it for what it was. And I liked the technique of it all. We also had Val and Claire were my first two coaches, two younger women who were just so empowering and they were just so awesome to be with. And I still talk about them to this day. And my head coach, Rich Henderson, he saw something in me very early on. So that kind of through my freshman year into my sophomore year when he became my coach, it was just a really good experience. And I started rowing stroke seat right away, and then I never really moved from it because I think like my leadership off the water contributed to my leadership on the water and also vice versa. And so I rowed throughout all 4 years, was captain my senior year, did a lot of stuff. My family was very involved with our team. My dad was president for my end of sophomore year, maybe. I know for my junior and senior year. So just as a whole, I felt like my team was very much a family to me and I miss all of them. And it was a really good experience in high school. And through the end of my junior year that summer, that's when I started reaching out to teams. I was like, in a way, I was not sure if I wanted to row in college because I didn't want to go to a lesser academic school. If I could go to a better school with my grades, I would much rather choose to go to a better school and then not row than go to a school that wasn't going to challenge me academically just to row. So I was focusing on finding the right school for me. So if I had a situation where rowing was taken away from me, like it has been, I'm still extremely happy at the school. Transferring has never been something that has even crossed my mind. And so I saw a few schools at midway through my summer going to my senior year. I didn't really know what I was looking for. And I saw some schools, didn't love them, put rowing a bit on the back burner. And then I saw Rochester and I just loved it. I loved the school. It was a gorgeous day in the summer, and then out of nowhere, it started completely downpouring during our tour. And at any other school, I would have been like, get me out of here. I do not want to go here. And I think it just made me love it more.
Aww.
So I met with DJ, it went really well. So by August of my senior year, I had done the athletic commitment form through Rochester, and I was committed to Rochester. Yeah, so that's how I got into rowing through high school and now into college. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So right now tell us where you are in college and tell us about your injury journey.
So I'm currently a sophomore in college. I'm a business major. Started off as a bio major, but then decided that wasn't for me. I So fall of my freshman year, so October of last year of 24, I started having some pain in my knee. I went from doing maybe max like 8,000 meters a day at practice to now doing 12 at a minimum. So that adjustment from college, like from high school athletics to college athletics, plus having more lifts and more rigorous classes, I think it definitely did take a toll on my body. So around that time, I started having knee pain, maybe took a few days off. The trainers were like, I think it's just overworked. I went back. And I remember again going and seeing my chiropractor at home, being like, I have this pain. I don't know what it is over winter break. And it just kept coming back. And so I was able to have 5 good days of workouts and then, or maybe 4, and then I needed to take days off to fix itself. And it was just a repeating pattern. So I reached out to DJ, told him that I was having this issue, not really sure where I was going to stand when I came back from winter break, because I knew we had testing and this was going to be the time that really made it was like make or break for what boat I was going to be in the spring. In the fall, I wasn't super happy about my placement. I missed out on going to Charles by one person. So I was really pushing to be in a top boat in the spring. And so I was consistently going to the TC, doing workouts every morning, like with the OYOs, with the mandatory practices. And maybe a week and a half in of that, like January, that winter training gap, so January of 25, I was like, my knee really hurts and it hurts to go up the slide and I do not know what is wrong. So I go back to the trainers and we start doing more modalities. We did, I think, everything under the sun to try to fix this, literally every possible thing. And I also was having back issues, which I've had for forever. I see a chiropractor. But all of this combined, it was just like a lot on my body. And we still didn't know what was wrong. So then they were like, maybe it's hamstring tendonitis. So at this point, I'm trying to get through or through the winter training before we were going to Clemson. And right before we went to Clemson, because I was still not getting better, I got an MRI to make sure that nothing was wrong. And I had seen my first doctor. He said, go get the MRI. So I got the MRI and nothing came back. There were no tears, nothing. And this was also really hard because it was like, as much as I obviously I didn't want anything to be wrong. I wanted answers because I had been in pain for so long that I just wanted answers. And I've also had issues in the past with my shins where I've had problems on the erg, but not on the water. So I was like, they were like, why don't you try rowing in Clemson? So I went to Clemson. I started off slow. Not really, though. I was thrown right into it. And I seat raced my way into the 1v8. And because I got that spot, and when I came back I was like, my body was completely falling apart. And when I came back from Clemson, I was seat raced 2 more times and I kept my spot. I was not about to say, I don't want it. I can't keep doing it.
Yeah.
Would I have done that? Definitely yes, because I would show up at the trainers and they would laugh at me because I would be like face down on the table, game ready on my leg, heat on my back, something on my traps. I was just like, I was falling apart. But I had a really good season in the 1v8. I rode port bow. It's interesting. We had a weird bucket, but I rode bow seat, which I actually really liked because it was the first time not stroking, but I like being on the ends of the boat, which I learned. And I feel like we did really well. And everyone's consensus was, we're going to get you through the season and you're going to go home and you're going to figure it out. So I went home. I went to a new doctor, showed him, so this is doctor number 2, showed him my MRI, and he was like, oh, I think it's just hamstring tendonitis. So he tells me to do PT, take some time off of erging. I erged, I think, twice the entire summer. Yeah, for 10 minutes each. I did not erg. Yeah. Because the goal was to try to fix it and ease my way back into it. So I was doing PT. I was living on Long Beach Island, beach lifeguarding, and I was doing PT on the mainland. So I would go like once or twice a week. And there would be things where I felt like my hamstrings were actually going to rip off. Like when the PT I was doing. And at the end of that summer, so honestly, I felt a lot better. I probably because I wasn't, my workouts were shorter and they were different. There were times where everything hurt a lot, but also I was doing a lot of sitting throughout the day. Like, even though my job is very active, for a large chunk of the day, I'm just sitting there. So I gave my body a lot of time to rest. And especially since last year in the spring, there were times where my I like wouldn't be able to walk because it hurt so bad, or I would have to put Tiger Balm all over me to numb the area so I would be able to row. So summer for the most part was really good until it was almost time to go back to school. And I was recommended from like my physical therapist to get a trigger point injection. And she told me, and I quote, "It won't, I can't guarantee it'll help, but I know it won't hurt." Problem is, it definitely did hurt. I think it was injected in the wrong, in a spot where it shouldn't have been injected, and it caused a lot of problems, which ultimately led to a ganglion cyst, which I got removed when I had surgery. But that pain and discomfort added on top of everything else I was feeling, it was now like a whole new area I had to deal with. So return to, now we're at fall of sophomore year. This is like a long story, but now we're at fall of sophomore year. And so this past fall, and my plan was, I really focused on explaining to the coaches that I need to ease back into this, and that if I go too fast, because at this point we thought it was hamstring tendonitis, if I go too fast, I'm going to flare up. I'm going to be in pain.
Yeah.
So I showed up, I started in a tubby single because I had very little sculling experience. I'm sweet all throughout high school, maybe sculled once. I love big boats. But I was like, this will be fun. I will learn a new boat class and it'll be a good challenge for me. So I started out very low meters, like 1,000 meters a day. And I tried to quickly progress because obviously I wanted to be able to do more and get back into an 8 or a 4, like a bigger boat, to be able to do those harder workouts. And I eventually moved from a tubby single to a regular single, and I still really wasn't doing that much. I think the most I ever did was like 4K. And at this point, I was in a lot of pain. And so there were times where I would just not row and I would go in the launch. Noah was really helpful actually during this time, trying to help figure out what could be wrong and maybe finding that limit of what's good and what's not. But it was also really frustrating. And to not be able to give everything I want to the sport was also making me very sad. In the end of September, maybe early October, Eric Rosen, the head athletic trainer, told me, he was like, I was doing my PT and he was like, "Charlotte, are you getting better?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Okay, you need to go see a new doctor." So I went to a new doctor in Rochester. So this is doctor number 3. And she told me that I don't have hamstring tendonitis and that I actually have nerve damage. So now that I have nerve damage, I'm like freaking out. She does a lidocaine shot to see if it's the area. Next day I go back, does a cortisone shot. And I'm like so overwhelmed that I tell the coaches I am done for rowing for a bit. I can't come. I can't be asked to come. I need to separate myself from the sport for a while until I figure out what's wrong with all. So I was going to the trainers like, oh, and at this time I started PT. So second physical therapist with Jake Keller, who is my current physical therapist. And he's been really helpful and the constant throughout all of this. And I'm like really grateful for him. But so now I'm doing new PT. I've gotten a third, 3 injections in this one area that I'm already having so much problems. I think there was a bad reaction or something because it made it a million times worse. It was itchy, burning, all of these things. And I would do contrast baths to try to make it better. It didn't help. I was doing PT to try to make it better. It didn't help. And it was just taking such a toll on my mental health. And it was also really hard because I separated myself from the team, like even socially, just because it was so hard for me to be around them when I just was so like upset that I was just like had a really bad connection with rowing at the time.
Yeah.
So finally, Thanksgiving break, I'm home. I see a new doctor. This is doctor number 4. He's a family friend. And I had called him right before I came home, and he was like, yeah, Charlotte, like my mom saw him. He was like, I think I could help her. And we called for 45 minutes, and he was like, okay, I want to figure this out. And at first he thought I had a torn meniscus, and that was missed on my MRI.
Yeah.
And he like looked at it and he was like, that's like weird. I really thought I was going to see this. I don't know why. And he was like, I want to see you in the office. He scheduled me an appointment like 2 days later. So I'm home. I go. First thing he does is take x-rays on my knees, back, and hips, because he was like, this should have been done. And I was going in with, I wanted to tell him I wanted x-rays because it should have been done so long ago. And you could see it immediately in my knee. There was like it looked like that. And it was a bone spur. Still, we don't exactly know what caused it, but our best guess is overuse, which makes a lot of sense going from high school athletics to college athletics. Also with just that transition, like being on my own and just doing new things, like the stress of all of that. So from there, we scheduled surgery. And so surgery was December 18th. So after finals, when I was home for winter break. And he removed the bone spur, and underneath there was a bone growth half the size of a grape. Luckily, it was benign, so everything is okay with that. And also there was a ganglion cyst in that spot that I was getting those injections. So all of that was removed. Now that I am much past all of that, I will say recovery was really hard, and getting through that time when I was at home where I really wasn't able to do anything, relying on my parents for everything. It was definitely a difficult process, but in the past 2-3 months, I've really started to feel a lot more like myself. Just started running 2 weeks ago. I think still trying to get back in shape and be able to beach lifeguard. It's the best job ever. So I'm really working hard for that. And through being able to do more with, obviously I'm still in pain from the surgery, but the pain that I was feeling last year at this time, completely different than what it is now. That's how I know that it
Is getting there, right?
that it's getting better, because for a while I couldn't tell. And I still don't have feeling in part of my leg. There's still things that are concerning to me. My incisions still hurt, but it just feels good to be able to move and feel confident in that and be able to do more things and go out with my friends. And going to Clemson was a really big deal for me. I was really scared. I was really nervous. The travel day was hard, but also having the opportunity to be able to go and be trusted to help coach. It was a really fun week. And although I haven't been super involved this spring, I've definitely been trying my best, helping Ethan with things. And yeah, I think now I'm just excited to be able to start doing more things again and living a life where I don't have to worry about my knee, because it's been something that has been such a stressor for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, you've been on a very long journey. And so you had the surgery in December, and right now we're sitting here in May. Just backing up to, you said that you needed help from your parents to help you get through your daily activities. And that was, so after you had the surgery, was that the first 2 or 3 weeks, or how long were you getting help and then not needing as much help to do your personal care, and then getting up and walking around, and then how did you navigate school too?
Yeah. So
That too.
Yeah. So from December 18th, I was bedridden for 2 weeks, pretty much. I think my only movement would have been from my bed to the bathroom or my bed to the living room couch. And I had a full leg brace, had to be locked out for the first 2 weeks. I couldn't take it off. I couldn't shower regularly. It had to stay like that. And a real challenge was the fact that where my incisions were, one of the buckles was. So figuring out a way for me to be comfortable, it was constantly pinching me. I was very agitated. During that time, my parents, I couldn't be left alone because I couldn't lift my leg by myself either. It was because there was just so much pressure in that area. It was great because I had some really good friends. I had a friend visit me almost every day, and it was just helpful, even if they were only there for 10 minutes just to say hi. Even the night I got home from surgery, my two friends came over with Lego flowers and my favorite candy, and it was really sweet. I guess I did learn who my close, true friends are from high school during that time. And like, I know that those are the people that will always be in my life that I can always rely on. And then after the first 2 weeks, the brace went away. And I was really excited for that because the pushing on it, everything, I was like, thank God it's away. Like showering was still very difficult. I couldn't bend my leg that much, but I started being able to do things more on my own. Sitting at the kitchen table, family dinners is a big thing at my family, missing out on that. Being able to sit at the kitchen table was good. Being able to go to the bathroom myself. And so for those first 2 weeks, I was partial weight bearing. And then I was on crutches for another 2 crutches, partial weight bearing for another week-ish, I would say. And it was really hard for me to walk normally. I really struggled with it. And I went into PT that third week. And a week after I'd been partial weight bearing, or a week without the brace. And she was like, okay, you need to learn we need to fix this walking. So I only went to that physical therapist 3 or 4 times before coming back to school and started working with Jake again. But yeah, walking was really hard. I had to think very hard about it. And it was frustrating because it was like, this is something I used to be able to do so easily. And I just worked really hard. And the next time I went in for PT, she was like, wow, you look great. And so at that point, I went to one crutch. And that was really exciting because more freedom, less things I have to deal with. And around this time too, I believe I was given a smaller brace. And that also helped me transition from one crutch to no crutch. And literally 3 days before I came back to school, I think I started walking without crutches. The crutches, they were in my car. They were here. They were here. And Rochester in January was really icy, really snowy, really horrible.
Yeah.
And I applied for closer in parking through the school in UHS. And then I also got a 6-month temporary handicap. And if I didn't have those things and if I didn't have a car, I would have been completely cooked because I just wouldn't have been able to get around. I will say a funny story. There's a girl on the basketball team. She's a junior in my class, and she tore her ACL at the beginning of the year. So we had 2 classes together on the same day, both have our handicaps, both have our cars. So we would take turns driving and became actually very good friends. So it was helpful to have that too, because it was so scary trying to figure it out. Also trying to get comfortable in class. I would go to my 2 classes and come back to my dorm and not leave for the rest of the day because I was so exhausted from going to my 2 classes. I feel like quickly I got adjusted, but I do remember there was like one day where I was like, I think something is wrong with me. I'm in the worst pain ever. And then I actually switched I switched from the smaller brace to the bigger brace because I was having issues with my kneecap. It was like a stretchy brace with the metal. But it wasn't hinges that unlocked. So I had to work to bend it myself. So I switched back to the bigger brace, which at the time it was good that I did that. But by the end of it, I was like, I need this thing off. I need it gone. I need it gone. And maybe that was like another 2 weeks. I don't know. By the time that I got rid of it probably end of February. So once that was gone, I felt like I started making strides so much faster. And every time at PT, Jake was like, you're doing so great. You look so much better. For a while, I was also very self-conscious because I went from being like a very strong built athlete to feeling very small. And especially my left leg was just so tiny. So getting that muscle back and just being able to do more. And every week I feel like I've been able to do more. And milestone of running is really good. And it's just that type of stuff. And also just being able to sit more, not getting as tired, being able to go out and do more, not having to be as scared. There were a lot of things that, like even going to my friends that live in a different area of campus because there wasn't close parking, I wasn't able to go and that they didn't have elevators. So just those types of things that I'm able to do now, that's where I really see the progress. And in terms of my, like mentally, I feel like I've gotten a lot stronger throughout all of this and I'm a lot happier now. And also everyone around me has been really helpful with if I need things or like I really barely started walking when I came back. So it was definitely difficult. Even I could barely bend my legs. My bed is raised, so it was like hard to get into bed or even shower, but the people around me were very helpful and I figured it out.
Yeah, that's amazing to be able to get around campus and to have the endurance. I hadn't even thought of the idea that you would have to navigate that endurance piece of it on a college campus because people had problems just doing that, doing someone who's working, being able to wake up in the morning on time and then be able to get themselves in the car and get themselves to work and then managing work. But you are trying to traverse a full campus and be able to not push yourself too much because you could push yourself too much just with doing your activity, you daily living activities that were required of you that you needed to do. So that's really cool that you were able to figure that all out. Are there any other tips you would give to someone who is recovering from an injury and is on a college campus? Make sure you talk to X, make sure you do Y. You'd mentioned the handicap sticker that you were able to get. Anything else that pops into your mind that someone may not think of that a resource they should use?
I'd say definitely talk to your professors and tell them. I told one of mine I had a 10-minute gap between my classes. I just got surgery. I can't run. I might be late to class. And she said, absolutely no worries. Take your time. If you're late, I'll fix your attendance. Don't worry about it. I think also something that was now I'm like, oh, that's funny that it happened at midnight. There was a fire alarm. I live on the 6th floor. And I like when I came back, I was still going up and down stairs one at a time too, because I just transitioned from one crutch to none. So I had to go down 6 flights of stairs one by one, and it was really bad. And definitely don't be afraid to ask for help because I was really scared of that. Even before I got this diagnosis, it was really hard for me to talk to my friends last semester. I was talking to my parents, but I really wasn't talking to that many of my friends about it. And because it was so hard for me to deal with, asking for help when you need it and knowing that people will support you through it is, I think, really important.
As far as right now, you're working on getting back to the lifeguarding. So that's the summer's goal. As far as getting back to the rowing, how are you going to phase the rowing back in? And is your plan to come back to rowing in the fall, or are you going to give it a little bit more time? What are your thoughts?
So I'm not entirely sure right now because I'm still having trouble when I bend my leg or if I squat down really low at a really high compression because it's pretty much exactly where I got surgery is exactly where you load when you're on the drive. So I'm not sure exactly how that will play out in terms of pain and just everything else. So I'd definitely be open to trying it, but also, like I said earlier, I feel like rowing took a very big toll on me mentally, and I'm not sure if I would be setting myself up to be happy rowing again. And so I feel like it's something I need once I'm feeling my body is more healed. I feel like it's something I can more revisit. I potentially coxing. I don't know if there would be a role for me to help out the way I am right now, but I know that whether I'm a rower or not a rower, I know that rowing is a really important part of my life and I have a really large appreciation for the sport. So I know that I want to be involved in some way. I want to be involved with rowing. I enjoy the sport. I like watching it. I like the technique of it. There's so much that I love about it and I don't want that to go away. So that's where I'm standing right now. And it has been something. Do I stop rowing? Do I keep rowing? Do I stop rowing? Do I keep rowing? It has been something that has been talked about since like all the way from last summer because probably a year ago, because the pain lasted for so long that I was like, am I going to be able to keep doing this? Because I don't think I'm able to. And so want to figure out where that role is for me, because I want to keep giving back to the sport I love so much.
And if you just share with everyone what you've been doing this past spring with the team, because you've been working with the team, describe how you've set that up with your coaches and what you're doing with the team right now.
Yeah, I talked to Ethan. He's our head coach at the beginning of maybe around January. I think the surgery and the diagnosis came at a shock for a lot of people, including myself and my family. So I was talking to him and I said, at the time, Ethan just became head coach and we didn't have an assistant coach. And we talked about the possibility of me coming on training trip as a coach and being able to help out with the novices. And I proposed the idea and he was like, let me look into this. I said, other teams have student assistant coaches. I think it would be a really cool opportunity. And he said, I don't know if we're allowed to, but I will get back to you. And so he went out, researched, came back and was like, we're able to. And we decided, really, he said, if you can only come to Clemson and that is the only thing you can commit to this season, that's great. Obviously, I would love to see you more for you to help out more. But if that's the only thing you can do, like, at the time, we weren't sure if we were going to have Adrian as a fantastic assistant coach, but we weren't sure if we were going to have anyone. And so even without me on Clemson, only 2 coaches would have been quite difficult. So especially if it was only Ethan. So I said, yes, I would love to do that. I think I had to send over a resume and I'm still technically on the roster. I'm not as a student assistant coach listed, but I started going to Saturday practices, doing some data analysis, just little things like that to try to help out. And Clemson came. It was the most amazing week ever. I really enjoyed coaching. I really helped with the novices. I felt really trusted with the responsibility I had. And I had a lot of the stuff I already needed. I was CPR and EMR certified. I had my boating license. I had stuff that allowed me to be able to do those things legally. And when I came home, I decided to get my US rowing level 1 coaching certification because I wanted to make that official. Also super easy because I had all of those certifications already, just had to take the class and fill out a few other things. And since then, I will say school and my other leadership responsibilities have kept me really busy. Also, the flow with the Jenny, a lot of our practices had to be inside. I think if we came back and if we were outside right away, I probably would have kept coming more regularly than I did, just because it would have been like the high of training trip. And what will I really be doing at an indoor practice I feel like the people who aren't erging tend to sit around. And at this point, my body I wasn't really at a good place. I was still getting really tired. Showing up 6 days a week at 6 a.m. it just wasn't really in the cards. We started transitioning outside. I was still mostly coming on Saturdays. I didn't really come. I tried to coordinate with Noah and Megan on when they could come, and I filled in the gaps. And through the spring, I've just been helping out with little things. I've traveled to most races with the team, just trying to be a supportive person. I feel like I do a lot of things behind the scenes most people don't know. Just little things. People come to me and I don't know if they're too scared to ask Ethan about their technique or stuff like that, but also just friend stuff, because I'm still involved in the team culture and all of that stuff. I'm still very much in it all. So being able to do all that stuff, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm working on a website for recruiting. And I think that's everything I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that a lot of times when someone gets injured, and you've touched upon the idea of keeping the connection with the team and what's a good boundary for you, because you are injured, you are healing. What's good for your mental health? What adds to that and makes you feel better? You don't want to put yourself in situations that are going to make you more frustrated about your injury, but yet again, you want to still be connected to the team. So I think you found a really great balance between being able to give yourself the time to rest, but still having those touch points, still feeling like you're part of the team, which is something that a lot of people struggle with. And I know you've been talking about your mental health and how to manage that through injury. Or are there any tools that you've been using or have any guidance or particular resources either on campus or from your family or from your medical team that you've been using that have been really helpful with on that perspective?
Yeah, I started seeing a therapist who works with athletes. She was a collegiate athlete maybe in December, and she's been really helpful to figure out. At that time, it was probably earlier than that. It was probably November, because at that time it was like I was weighing the pros and cons of being on the team. Like, when do I say I'm done permanently? When I still hadn't gotten that diagnosis, and the constantly being in pain was just making me so miserable. And I felt like really the people around me just really helped, because I was at such a low point in my life that getting to class was hard. And I was definitely struggling with anxiety and depression. And so being able to work through all of those things, and then also, I don't know where I would be if they had told me, if Dr. Frey had told me there, he didn't know what was wrong, because I was at a point where I just wasn't sure what was next at all. And I'd say the surgery was actually a really big reset to emotional and physical recovery. For people struggling, it's really just ask for help. Like, I felt like there was nothing I could do to fix myself, and then there was so much I could do. So, yeah.
Yeah. As far as someone who's listening to this who may not be injured but has teammates who are injured, what are the best ways to support your teammate as they go through this journey?
I think something people need to remember is, like, out of sight, out of mind, and that's not okay. Not a lot of people think after this is posted and shared, I want the rest of my teammates to listen to this, because a lot of people still don't know what happened. And partially that was on me for distancing myself from the team. But for anyone that is watching someone else and you know that they're struggling, make sure you reach out and offer help, and let's get dinner. I'm at, ours is called Hillside, but I'm at the grocery store. What's your favorite candy? Let me get you something. There were things I wish. I felt very isolated, and I felt very isolated from a lot of the different groups of my friends and people at the school at the time. So just having people reach out and just checking in on that person, because it is really hard. Even if a person isn't injured, but you can see that they're not right, like,
Yeah.
reach out, check in on them. It really will make the difference.
I think that's something that we tend to forget. Like you said, the out of sight, out of mind. And maybe I take that as a coach. Maybe I need to be more proactive in the sense of, if someone is not feeling well, to just shoot that quick text or be like, hey, just checking in. What's up? Doing okay? I think that goes a long way, especially when you feel isolated, to be able to have people out there that you know are checking in on you and making sure that you're feeling well.
Yeah.
Were there any books or podcasts or anything that inspired you while you were in your recovery? It can be goofy. It doesn't have to be like,
I actually am a horrible reader. I hate reading. I'm really bad at it, but during surgery, I read some, like, when I was recovering, I read some romance books, and honestly, that it helped a lot. My friends gave me some books before, and it just gave me something to do, because I would just sit there and I would be bored. I would have nothing to do. And then in terms of, I don't listen to podcasts, but except I will listen to this one. But my dad likes podcasts. I'm not a podcast person. I started watching a lot of law shows, and I got a lot of recommendations from my friends. So I watched Suits and The Lincoln Lawyer. I tried to watch TV with my family too. We were always doing that. And I got so hooked. It's funny because I got through so many seasons while I was at home. And in the past, like, few months, I've gotten through 2 seasons of Suits. Like, when I got through 4 in a few days at home. So I'd say, honestly, the little things were making me happy. I was like, I need to go watch my show. I got excited to go to the big room in my house and watch my show. So I think those were, like, Nothing really inspirational, but kind of kept me sane during a difficult time. And yeah.
Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to make sure that's either someone who's listening who has someone in their life, in their rowing life, who is injured, or who is injured themselves? Is there something that we didn't go over that you want to make sure that you share with people?
I think it's important to know that nothing is wrong with you. If you're going through a difficult time, it's not your fault and you can get the help you need. And in terms of going through something like an injury and not having the answers, I went for a year without knowing the answers. And it was so difficult because I just wanted to stop being in pain. And even there were plenty of times where I would talk about the pain and feel not believed, and just know that find the person that will listen and you will get to the bottom of it, even though it may take a while, but you will figure it out. And I think not feeling believed was also contributed a lot to my weird relationship with the sport for the past since the time of pain, because I definitely wasn't making it up. And I just wanted to get better and get back to the thing that I loved. And so just know that you will find an answer. And if one person isn't listening to you, go find someone else that will.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. And I'm trying to compile as many stories of rowers, just so that I think the biggest thing that I've been hearing just between all the different people I've talked to is that fear or being alone. And I want people to know that injury happens. And like you said, it's not your fault. If someone doesn't believe you, go to another practitioner. Keep working through and talking to different people. And eventually someone will have the ability to see that next thing that needs to be done that will lead to finally getting an answer, and then solutions.
Yeah.
With really what you want, and to be able to just to feel better, get back to the sport.
In the span of all of this, I saw 3 chiropractors, 3 physical therapists, a lot of athletic trainers, and 4 doctors. So it definitely, like, I wish I didn't have to go through all of them to get to the answer, but I just had to go that way. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really glad I got to tell my story and have someone as great as you to listen.
Oh, thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for coming on, and I really appreciate it. And I think as I get more of these stories out, I think this is just gonna be really helpful for people, so people don't feel alone. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.